This is the first Gothic cathedral that was ever built. This is Sens Cathedral, 109 kilometers southeast of Paris. St. Denis Abbey will always be the first Gothic building known to history, but the first majestic cathedral of a metropolitan archdiocese to take up the new Gothic style was Sens. Walking into Sens Cathedral, I easily felt like it was the best and most enjoyable Gothic cathedral that I had ever visited in France. Many of the early Gothic cathedrals will have this effect on you. Their older and more rounded arches feel gentler and more accessible than the very intricate tracery patterns of their rayonnant and flamboyant buildings. Their rows of round or gently pointed arches feel more like a friendly written essay rather than an avant-garde masterpiece of new art making a statement about how far it's come. Which isn't to say I don't love every cathedral for what it did to further the technology and science of church building. Every innovation in every church that dared to take a step forward is why the French style came to be known as the style to build churches in from Portugal to Cyprus and from Scotland to Sicily. And the best part is, you can trace the evolution of Gothic in Sens Cathedral itself, which is otherwise just a very beautiful provincial cathedral town in modern France. The body is mostly early Gothic. The clerestory was later renovated to be taller. The lower interior height of Sens, a mark of its early place in the history of Gothic, also makes it feel more human, more possible. But this doesn't mean Sens was never a powerful cathedral, quite the opposite. In the 13th century, Sens was the metropolitan or senior church of many other churches, including Paris. Paris had always been its own diocese since the 3rd century AD, but did you know that Paris didn't become its own archdiocese until 1622, under Pope Gregory XV? Sens, being the metropolitan, and the similar Gothic architecture, albeit in an earlier mode, is why Sens is sometimes called the mother of Notre Dame. Sens was built from 1140 on, a good 2 decades before the start of Notre Dame, and truly, it set the course for a lot of Gothic architecture to come. You can see that it inspired everything from the choir design to the elevation, the windows, and the facade with twin towers, the north one of which was never built. Indeed, the resemblance is striking, like mother, like daughter. Sens even inspired Canterbury Cathedral, and the earliest examples of English Gothic, but not without a price. William of Sens, the master mason of Sens Cathedral, built the Lady Chapel and choir of Canterbury Cathedral before he fell 50 feet off the scaffold in 1180. It's said that he survived the fall and then limped back home to France before he finally died. And when St. Thomas Becket fled the English King Henry II, he came to none other than Sens for refuge, where Pope Alexander III was in exile too, and here had dedicated an altar. So Thomas Becket met the Pope in Sens. Sens Cathedral was completed by Archbishop Guillaume of the White Hand, the same one who supported Thomas Becket, despite being English King Henry II's cousin. After Guillaume got transferred to the See of Reims, he crowned his own nephew, Philippe Auguste, or Philip II, as king. He loved his nephew so much that Guillaume risked papal scolding from Pope Innocent III to allow Philip II his divorce from his Danish queen for a French love. You will see the echo of the architecture of Sens in many later cathedrals. Canterbury has the twin columns in every other pier just like Sens does, a feature of Champenois origin. The choir shape is very similar, relatively stout and compact, with humble arches. Amiens is thought to have looked to the double triforium arches of Sens and the triplets of Paris for inspiration for its own triforium. In 1490, Martin Chambige was called to Sens to renovate the transept of Sens Cathedral. He also worked on Troyes and Beauvais, and his son, Pierre, would work on Senlis Cathedral. Among Martin Chambige's famous flowery windows, the ones at Sens are said to be the most beautiful and intricate. There is a 6-petal rose on the south transept terminal, finished in 1500, and a 5-petal one on the north transept terminal, finished in 1504. The south transept was easier for me to access because it opens into a large courtyard. The north transept only opens onto a narrow street. Not the most flattering view of the transept face, but certainly accurate to how we know and imagine the most claustrophobic medieval streets. Sens was by far the prettiest town I visited this past Easter, and its cathedral was perhaps the most enthralling because of its accessible architecture.